A year ago, I made a video about Clint Eastwood's famous movie gunfight in the film A Fistful of Dollars, the opening gunfight scene. In that video, I recreated the gunfight scene as best I could while using real ammunition instead of blanks to see how close I could come to really hitting the targets with real bullets as fast as what was depicted in the film. I also tried some runs by firing blank cartridges just to see how fast I could do it. The point was, how close could I come to making a movie fantasy into a real shooting challenge? Anyway, while making that video, I discovered some interesting things about how the scene in the film must have been made. I didn't want to go into it at the time in that video because it was off the subject, but now I will. I discovered these things while examining the film clip in depth on a movie editor that allowed me to freeze frame, slow down, and speed up the scene. I don't know for sure if my conclusions are accurate, but I think they are. I'll let you decide for yourself. I'll explain how I think the action was really captured for the film and why I think it happened this way. Most people understand that blank cartridges are used and actors or stuntmen take the falls that make a Western movie gunfight look real. Most people also think that that is the end of the Hollywood fakery that creates the scene. Blank cartridges and falling stuntmen. In reality, there's far more manipulation that goes on, both in shooting the scene and in editing, that helps make the gunfight scene exciting and realistic to the uninformed viewer. In addition to possibly filming the scene multiple times and splicing together the best clips to make it look impressive, there are some long-standing techniques that are used to make the scene look really good. Now, about Western movie fast draws. Almost every Western movie gunfight that depicts a fast draw scene where the actor quickly draws a single-action revolver out of a holster, that's done by the actor starting out with his grip already on the gun. In editing, they cut to the draw, and your brain thinks that you saw the actor draw the gun without first having a grip on it. This is done because most actors do not have the skill to quick draw a single action revolver unless they start out with their hand on the grip, which is far more easier than starting out with your hand off the gun. However, Clint Eastwood was exceptional in his ability to do real fast draws, what I call a clean draw, where they show your hand is an inch or two away from the gun and you actually grab the gun and draw it quickly. He did many real fast draws in his movies. I saw an interview with one of the Italian filmmakers working with the spaghetti westerns, and he said that Clint Eastwood's ability to run his Colt revolver was really amazing. He really could draw it fast and fan it, and that was unlike the other actors that they worked with. He really knew what he was doing. However, there's another technique that is regularly used to make the action look impressive. And I know I'm going to catch a lot of flack for this, but it's true. In Western movie gunfights, they speed up the action in editing. In many movies, the action, especially the old Westerns, is sped up a lot, and it's easy to see, and they're really quite fake looking. However, if it's sped up just a little bit, it's very hard to detect, especially to the average moviegoer's eye. So, the question is, did they speed up Clint Eastwood in editing at all in this gunfight scene? I know I'm going to get a lot of crap for this, but in my opinion, yes, they did. Just a little bit. Here's why I think that. As soon as the shooting starts, this guy on the right that falls against the tree and takes several small steps and grasps the tree, if you look, it just doesn't look right. Also, the guy falling from the fence, it's not nearly as obvious, but he falls just a little bit too quickly. And the way those horses spook and jump to the side, it doesn't quite look real. Now, the guy in the middle does a really good job. He probably fell kind of slowly, so when they sped it up, you can't see any error there. And the guy on the far left doesn't move very much at all, so he looks fine. But that guy on the right, he gives it away. Now, if I put the clip in editing and slow it down just a little bit until the guy on the right looks natural in his movements, everyone else looks more natural also, including Clint Eastwood. This is what it looks like. I didn't have to slow it down very much, just 20%. Now watch it again. This means that the shooting lasts 2.02 seconds, if I'm correct, instead of the 1.61 seconds, which is what it looks like in the film. However, even in real time, this shooting feat is very impressive. Here's why. The other thing I discovered from watching the clip over and over again is that the gun Clint Eastwood is shooting appears to be a stock revolver, meaning it has very stiff springs. You can see that by how hard he has to strike the hammer, and he has to use his entire palm. The gun is resisting the hammer stroke quite a bit, which also ironically looks like recoil in the scene, and it makes the scene look even more real. The gun that I used in my video was a highly modified single-action revolver with very light springs and a fanning hammer. I could fire a shot using only 2 fingers to strike the hammer. Clint Eastwood had to use his entire palm. Also, my gun has the shorter 4 5/8 inch barrel, and Eastwood's was the longer 5.5 inch, which is slower to leave the holster because the barrel's longer. Finally, I was using a fast draw Western holster, and Clint Eastwood was using a regular all-day carry Western holster, which is far harder to draw fast from. So the shooting challenge that Clint Eastwood had was far harder than what I had to deal with. His actual time of 2:02 to draw and fire 5 shots in the general direction of 4 different men using a stock gun and holster is outstanding. I don't know of any other actor that could handle a 6 gun this well. However, there's one more thing, one more editing trick that was used in this film, and you're not going to believe it when I tell it to you. Clint Eastwood's shooting had an error. That's right, there was an error. If you look when the camera cuts to his hand shooting the gun, the first hammer stroke, the gun doesn't go off. For the next 3, it does go off, but for that first stroke, it doesn't go off. Now, this could have been a couple of reasons. One is he could have partially missed the hammer. It looked like he did strike it a little bit. He could have partially missed the hammer, and the cylinder didn't rotate all the way. Or he could have struck the hammer correctly, and the cylinder might have skipped. And if it skips, it won't go off. And that would be a mechanical error. But either way, you can tell that on that, it would be the 3rd shot, the gun really doesn't go off. And there's a sound they put in there, a gun sound that's out of time with the hammer strike, if you watch it really slowly. So they did something. They manipulated something right there because there was a little error. Either it was a mechanical error or it was a shooting error. It may have taken many tries to get the gun to go off even 4 times. So my guess is that when they captured the film sequence that appears in the movie, when Clint Eastwood does a clean, real draw, really fast, and fires several times, with smoke and flames blazing, and the stuntmen fall perfectly timed to the shots, Sergio Leone knew it wouldn't get any better than that, even if it wasn't perfect, no matter how many times they filmed it. And so, they just added the one missing shot and fixed it all in editing. The scene became a legend that is replayed thousands of times on YouTube and rerun movies every day almost 60 years later. The filming angle was genius. The overcast day provided the perfect light for the camera to see muzzle flashes more brilliantly than could have ever been filmed on a sunny day. The actors fell in perfect timing to the shots. Like many perfect pieces of cinema, it was captured with a lot of effort, skill and talent, some editing tricks, and a little luck.